Hey guys, it's Ellen Brock, freelance editor. Today I'm going to talk about how to stay motivated to finish writing your novel. This video was requested by both Noelia and Vanessa, but I think it's a video that will help a lot of writers because I know it's very easy to give up or to lose hope and to stop working on your novel. So I have 10 tips that I'm going to go over that should help you to stay motivated. It's important to note that people are motivated by different things, so all of these tips probably won't help you, but I hope that you will find something that benefits you and something that will help you to keep focused and to keep motivated to work on your novel. Tip number 1 is to find something that represents your novel to you. A lot of people find that a photograph works really well, but it might be a quote or a song, something that really gets to the core of your story and why you want to write it, and it helps to create inspiration so that when you look at the image or you listen to the song, you're inspired to start working on your story. Tip number 2 is to write a brief sentence that identifies what your story is about to you and what you want to accomplish with the story. So for example, you might write something like, I want to write a story about bullying that inspires girls to have hope that there's a better future out there. Or it could be something like, my story is a funny romp and I want to make people laugh. Identifying why you want to write the story and what you want to convey can help you to stay motivated to finish it because you'll see why you're doing it in the first place. Tip number 3 is to measure your progress based on time spent working on your book rather than based on the word count. Writers can get really obsessed with producing a certain number of words per day or per week, and this can encourage you to stuff your novel with filler, to not want to let go of sentences or scenes that aren't working, and overall it pushes you to produce in a way that isn't necessarily productive. So I recommend setting a time limit, which I find works better for most writers. So say I'm going to work on my novel 30 minutes a day, stick to that time period and work on anything related to your novel in those 30 minutes. That will help you to spend time on brainstorming, on editing, on rearranging scenes, and not just focusing on producing output. Because when you're focusing on the word count, you're likely to both create words, sentences, paragraphs, scenes that don't work for your novel, and to get frustrated when you don't write your novel as quickly as you want to. Tip number 4 is to track your progress. Whether you like to use word count or a period of time to mark how well you're doing and how on track you are with your novel, actually tracking that time or tracking those words can help you to stay motivated. When you see the time adding up or you see that you've missed a day or you've missed 3 days, it can really inspire you to keep going and to stay on track. It can also be really great to reward yourself for doing a good job or to punish yourself for not getting enough done, depending on what you find more motivating and what works for you. Tip number 5 is to find somebody to hold you accountable. Whether this is a friend, a spouse, a writing group, it can be really helpful to report your progress to somebody else because we are way more likely to stay on track when we know we're going to have to tell somebody that we failed than when we know we can keep it to ourselves. So having somebody that you can report your progress to can be really motivating and can keep you working on your novel even when you don't feel like it. Tip number 6 is to not quit when you get writer's block. It's really tempting to put a story aside and say, oh, I'll get back to it when I feel more motivated. But you're going to waste a lot of time if you wait for inspiration, and chances are you'll put the story away for so long that you will never return to it. You'll just start something else. So pushing through writer's block is a great way to stay motivated. And the best way that I found to do this is to stick to a period of time that you will work on your novel. As I mentioned earlier, if you set aside 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and you say, I'm only going to work on my story. You can work on brainstorming, on editing previous scenes, on rearranging scenes, on anything that you want as long as it has to do with your book. This can keep you thinking about your book. It can keep you in the mental space that you need to be in to stay motivated. Tip number 7 is to make sure that you love what you are writing. If you don't really like your story or you're not really enjoying the process and you're just writing for commercial success, you're going to lose interest and you're going to not finish the novel because it is a lot of work to finish a novel, and if you don't enjoy what you're doing, you're never going to finish it. Tip number 8 is don't forget that editing exists. So many writers lose motivation because they read a sloppy first draft and think, I'm not a good writer, I can't do this. Editing exists for a reason. You can fix it later. Don't get hung up on mistakes or poor sentences or scenes that you're not really comfortable with. Don't worry about it. Get through your writing. Keep working. If you slow down and you stop or you give up every time it doesn't come out perfectly, you'll never get anywhere. Editing is your best friend. It will help you. So don't worry about getting it right the first time. And if your first drafts are terrible, it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're not a good writer, and it doesn't mean you should quit. Tip number 9 is learn about the components of writing a great novel. If you understand story structure and scene structure and characterization, it's a lot easier to stay motivated because you'll be able to identify why your story isn't working. It's way easier to problem solve and to feel like you can fix this story and you can make it work if you understand what goes into making a novel successful. Tip number 10, my last tip, is to find a pre-writing process that works for you. If outlining your novel means that you lose interest, don't do it. If you're the type of person who gets stuck at 10,000 words every single time, then maybe outlining is for you. Or maybe you're somewhere in the middle and you need to have the basic structure and a character chart, but you don't really need every single scene plotted out. Figuring out what works for you and what level of planning is effective is key in staying motivated and finishing your novel. A lot of the time when a writer can't finish a novel, it's because they've either overplanned it and they've lost interest, or they've underplanned it and they don't know where to go with the story. So hopefully some of the tips in this video will help you to stay motivated and to keep working on your novels. If you have any questions or any videos that you would like to see, please post them in the comments. Tomorrow I'll be doing the first part of my Q&A, so please come back for that. And like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out. Have a great week, guys.